What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Cinna James Movie Talk. I am your host, Mr. Cinna James himself, and for this episode, let me just say this. This is my second time trying to record this episode. I recorded this episode a couple days ago and realized I didn't have any audio. I had a technical issue with the audio, so here we are. And I actually, at the time of recording this video, I have already seen the new Mortal Kombat 2. I saw this movie yesterday. I'm not going to be talking about Mortal Kombat 2 during this, but I will say this really quick. Mortal Kombat 95, it's still the best one. I had a fun time with Mortal Kombat 2, the new one, but Mortal Kombat 95 is still the GOAT of Mortal Kombat movies. So let's hope we can get through this episode today. Once again, guys, if you like my content, you're listening to this on YouTube, hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, hit that bell. Hit that follow, show me some love. I greatly appreciate all of your support. Just to give you guys a lineup for what's coming up for the month of May. The next episode is going to be my non-spoiler review. That's why I'm not going to talk about the new Mortal Kombat movie in this episode, because I'm doing a non-spoiler review for my next one on Mortal Kombat 2. And then I need to get to the full spoiler review for Michael. But we have a lot of stuff going on. I am going to get to it, but there is a lot of stuff going on in the month of May. So next week, I am doing a discussion on Top Gun, one of my all-time favorite movies, because next week is the 40th anniversary. So they're re-releasing that in theaters. So I'm going to be really excited to talk about that. And then after that, another one of my all-time favorite movies. And in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest action movie ever made, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. They're doing a 35th anniversary re-release of that in theaters, so I am going to be super excited to talk about that. And then, of course, this is the month of May. It's Star Wars month, right? So at the end of the month, I'm going to be doing a non-spoiler review on the new Star Wars movie, Mandalorian and Grogu. So we got a lot of stuff going on in May, but I promise I am going to get to that Michael spoiler review for you. But now let's go ahead and let's get into the Mortal Kombat movies. On this episode, we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat 1995. We're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat Annihilation 1997. And then we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat 2021. But before we talk about the movies, ladies and gentlemen, we do need to take some time really quick to talk about the Mortal Kombat game series. Okay? So as any kid in the 90s, I was a huge fan of Mortal Kombat. I was a big fan of Mortal Kombat. So when the movie came out in 95, I was so excited for it. But Mortal Kombat hit arcades in 1992, and it was such an iconic game. It changed video games. And it also, if you go back to 1992, we were in a different time. We only really had one main fighting game, and that was Street Fighter. We just had Street Fighter, and I was a fan of Street Fighter at that time. I played it a lot, but when Mortal Kombat came along, it changed the way fighting games were looked at. And what Mortal Kombat was really known for, and what set it apart from all the other games at that time, and what made it a big deal, was its violence, the blood, the gore, those fatalities. And it actually was such a big deal that they had conversations with this in Congress about, this is what started the conversation about violent video games. And actually, Mortal Kombat is also, it's crazy to think about this, but Mortal Kombat is also the reason why we have ratings on video games today. So the rated E for everyone, rated T for teen, M for mature, that's because of Mortal Kombat. So this series is an iconic series, and especially the first game. It is an iconic game, and it's still one of the few games that I can remember during the time of arcades. It's one of the few games that I can remember actually had a line. You actually had to wait in a line to play this game. And I'd never seen anything like that with a video game up at that point. But once I played it, like everyone else, I was automatically hooked. And then from there, we get to 1995 and we get to Mortal Kombat, which was released on August 18th, 1995. This had a budget of $18 to $24 million and it had a box office of 122 million, which for 1995, that was a big deal. And also, too, we go back to that time, we didn't have that many video game adaptation movies. By that point in time, I think we just had Super Mario Brothers in 93. We had the live action Double Dragon movie, and then we had the famous 1994 Street Fighter movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia, in which, to tie that into the Street Fighter game I mentioned earlier, I can't wait to talk about that movie when we get to the new Street Fighter that comes out this fall. I'm excited and I can't wait to talk about that. But Mortal Kombat 1995 is one of my all-time favorite movies. And in my opinion, as I said at the start of this, it is the best Mortal Kombat movie ever made. It's the GOAT. And I actually have, sitting back here, if I can get to it here, I have a VHS copy of Mortal Kombat. I can tell you, I wore this VHS out. I watched this movie so many times when it at home. This movie for me, it's fun from start to finish. And I think to me, this was to me the embodiment of what Mortal Kombat is. It doesn't follow the video game lore all the way, but it has a good story. And it has a story to where even if you didn't know anything about the Mortal Kombat games, you didn't know anything about what Mortal Kombat was, you could still enjoy this as a good action martial arts movie. My dad liked this movie, and he didn't even know what Mortal Kombat was, other than he did know that it was a video game I played. But he didn't know anything about it, and he had a good time watching this movie. This movie, just in tone, story, pace, and the iconic music, it's from start to finish, it is such an awesome movie. So the story of Mortal Kombat is Earth Warriors Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, Johnny Cage. They team up under the leadership of Lord Raiden to go to a mystical island where they will compete against Outworld sorcerer Shang Tsung and his warriors in a tournament called Mortal Kombat. And Outworld has already won 9 tournaments, this being the 10th tournament, and if they win 10 straight victories in Mortal Kombat, they get to invade Earth. The introduction of all these characters is fun, it's exciting. The most hype introduction that we get, and I remember when I saw this in theaters, it was the one scene in this movie that got a big pop, is when we got introduced, and the way we got introduced, to Scorpion and Sub-Zero. It was absolutely exciting. And then if you go back before that, the way we got introduced to Sonya, it was such fast pace. We get introduced to her in the Rock Techno Club. We get introduced to Johnny Cage. Each one of these characters, the one nice thing about this is you already know when you see them pop up, you know who they are based on how they're introduced. Johnny Cage gets introduced while he's working on the set of his newest movie. We get introduced to Liu Kang through his brother's death. It is just, they get straight to it, introduce the characters, drives the plot. The pacing on this movie, like I said, the pacing on this movie is fun. And the fights in this are absolutely amazing. And what makes them even better is the music that accompanies them. This movie had one of the most iconic, and I want to say one of the most top selling music soundtracks of all time. And this movie also delivered to us one of the most iconic and well-known theme songs of all time, the Techno Syndrome song by the Immortals, the Mortal Kombat theme, in which, to go back, this movie has, without question, one of the most hype and most iconic intros of all time, that when the New Line Cinema logo pops up, you immediately get the yell of Mortal Kombat and it hits the theme, goes into the flames with the dragon logo. This movie, like, I remember seeing that in theaters and right from the start just being excited. it takes you on an adrenaline ride right from the start. Even when we get to the slow moments in the story where they're kind of giving some exposition and they're talking a little bit more about the plot, even in the slow moments, it doesn't take you out of this movie. You have fun with it all the way across. Even the fights, and we talked about the music in this, how the music does do so much for this movie. Even in the fights, for example, Sonya and Kano's fight, where it was kind of, I would say, the weaker of the fights in this movie, the music makes it awesome. It carries that fight so well. And let's talk about the fights in this movie. So we have the introductory dining room. I call it the demonstration sequence where Sub-Zero is taking on one of the island warriors, one of our generic island warriors, and it's a demonstration that Shang Tsung is putting on, and Sub-Zero just throws the one freeze ball as he's charging towards him, and he blows him up, or he shatters him with the ice, and Shang Tsung looks down and looks back up at us and says, "Flawless victory." I mean, come on, that's exciting. That's so much fun. And then we get the I call it Goro's dining room sequence where the three of them have to fight together against the island warriors, and the theme song hits. It's let's go with these scenes. And then we have Johnny Cage taking on Scorpion with that rock music was absolutely awesome. It was so much fun. And then we got Scorpion doing his iconic face pull with the skull flames. And then we have Johnny Cage defeating him and Johnny Cage doing his autograph signature friendship. It was so much fun. We get to the best fight, in my opinion, is the Liu Kang and Reptile fight, where Liu Kang has the creature reptile and he throws him into the empty body statue, and then he morphs into the human reptile form, and we get the arcade sounding of his name, and he springs up with that reptile's theme music, and he knocks Liu Kang through the wall. It's so much fun. And then we got to see, I just think about this, I'm sitting in the movie theater and we get to see Liu Kang's bicycle kick. It was so much fun. That's the one thing this movie did, was it didn't follow the video game all the way, but it had those connective pieces that we could identify with. Because we played the game, we were fans. We were here for this movie. It was so much fun. And we talk about the characters in this. Robin Shou as Liu Kang. It's an amazing portrayal. Lyndon Ashby as Johnny Cage. He delivers that comedy. He's the comedy for us in this movie. He's so much fun to watch. Bridget Wilson from oh my gosh, I can't think of the movie. She's Veronica Vaughn. Billy Madison. That's it. Billy Madison. I almost said Happy Gilmore for a minute, but it's Billy Madison. She plays a very straight-faced Sonya. She's a badass in this movie. We get the iconic portrayal of Christopher Lambert, the Highlander, as the Thunder God Raiden. And I really love the way he plays that character. And the nice thing, and what I like about it is he's kind of got a mix of comedy, and he's also kind of stoic at times. But what I like also, too, is he's powerful by just some of the things that he does in this movie. One of my favorite scenes of his in this movie is the Goro's dining room scene where they defeat the first round of Island Warriors, and then the rest of them come in to take him on, and he's just sitting there, and he looks at him, and he has his finger up, and he has the lightning coming from his finger, and he tells him, "I don't think so," and he has the lightning from his eyes, and they just let him pass. I love the way Christopher Lambert portrays Raiden. I love it. And then we get an iconic performance from the late Cary Tagawa as Shang Tsung. He makes this movie. His portrayal of Shang Tsung is absolutely fantastic. And the thing about him in this movie too is he's intimidating. His mannerisms, the way he moves, he's powerful. He's scary at times. You get the understanding that he is the big bad in this movie. And then we get, which was amazing how they pulled this off, we get Goro in this movie. And in this movie is actually a man in a suit. They had a couple little CG things, but they have a guy in that suit, and he looks spot on. He looks so intimidating. He looks awesome in this movie. And the way they have him fight in this movie, it's really super cool. And that fight with him and Johnny Cage, it's fun. It's a fun movie. And then we get to the end of the movie, the final fight with Liu Kang and Shang Tsung. And again, we get to that hype place. We get to that hype place where they're over the dragon logo and they're getting ready to face off, and we have the theme song kick in, and it does the intro with the theme song where the voice says test your might. It's so much fun. It's adrenaline. We're sitting there, we're excited, we're ready to go with this. And then we get to the end of the movie after Liu Kang has defeated Shang Tsung, and they're all together again, and they're walking towards the temple, and the clouds get dark, and the top of the temple tower explodes, and we see Shao Kahn, and he looks down at them and he says, "You weak, pathetic fools, I've come for your souls." And Raiden has the lightning in his eyes, and he says, "I don't think so." And they hit their fighting stances, and the music swells up and hits again. What a way to end it. What an exciting way to end this movie. Again, 95 Mortal Kombat, one of my all-time favorite movies, in my top 10 favorite movies, and again, the GOAT of Mortal Kombat movies. But I do want to know, those are my thoughts on 95 Mortal Kombat. I want to know what you think about 95 Mortal Kombat. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. So, now, now we're going to get into Mortal Kombat Annihilation. This is going to be a fun one to talk about. So Mortal Kombat Annihilation came out on November 11th, 1997. Had a budget of $30 million, which was more than the first one, but had a box office of $51.3 million, which, to give you a comparison, the 95 Mortal Kombat had a box office of over $122 million. This one actually has one of the lowest ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. You'll hear me mention Rotten Tomatoes every once in a while, but this had a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I want to say, and that's a critic's review. The audience score wasn't that much better, but I want to say the 95 Mortal Kombat had a Rotten Tomatoes score. I want to say it was like maybe 55, 60%. It was up there. But this one had a Rotten Critics score of 4%. And when we talk about this, you will understand why. Now, to go back to 1997, again, I'm in my peak of Mortal Kombat fandom. And at this time, Mortal Kombat had been taking over the world, ladies and gentlemen. We were at this point, 1997, we had Mortal Kombat 3 in the games. We'd had Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. We'd had Mortal Kombat Trilogy. We had Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. We were getting ready at this point in 97. I want to say we were getting ready at this point for the early stages of talks of Mortal Kombat 4. We have had the Mortal Kombat Live Tour. I had a chance to go see the Mortal Kombat Live Tour. When you look at it now, yes, it's cheesy. It wasn't that good. But back then, peak of Mortal Kombat fandom, it was so cool. And that tour, that live tour, actually did really amazing. We also had the animated show on USA Network, I think was called Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm. I think that's what it was called. And I want to say in 97 at this time, it might have been the next year. I could be wrong. It might have been 98. But I also want to say in 97 here, we had Mortal Kombat, the live action TV show on TNT. It was called Mortal Kombat Conquest. That went for one season. I believe it was one season. So we're at the action figures are out, all the merch at this point now. Mortal Kombat is such an established juggernaut franchise at this point. So when they released the sequel, of course, as a Mortal Kombat fan, I'm excited for it. I'm hyped for it. But this is that movie, ladies and gentlemen. This is that movie where being a fan, I walked out of disappointed. And I was at the place. I was 13 when this came out, okay? So I was at that place where I was starting to be aware, being a little more judgmental of what I was watching in movies. Because when you're younger and you have a favorite movie property, comic book series, whatever it is, and you watch it at the movies and it be a sequel and another sequel, to you it's the greatest thing in the world. It's the best movie ever. But I had gotten to that point where I was being a little more critical of what I was watching on the screen. And I remember being excited when I saw the trailer. But I remember being disappointed and not really sure what I had watched when I came out of the theater. So to give you the rundown of Mortal Kombat Annihilation, Mortal Kombat Annihilation picks right up immediately after the events of the first tournament, and we are once again joined with Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, Johnny Cage, and Lord Raiden as they are now facing Outworld Emperor Shao Kahn, as he has now broken the rules of the Mortal Kombat tournament to invade Earthrealm, and Raiden and his team now have 6 days until Annihilation. This movie was a big downgrade from the last movie. And it's crazy to think that because of the budget it had a bigger budget. So you would think, understanding the success of the first one, taking the blueprints of what the first one established, having a bigger budget, and by this point in time, we are, like I said, we are already established into Mortal Kombat 3, so we have more characters, we've got a more palette of things to use for this movie. And this movie was almost put together as if the people that, the writers, the producers, the director, that none of them paid attention to what was done in the first movie, and none of them were paying any attention to what was going on in the games. The best part of this movie is the recap at the beginning of the first movie. They recap, this movie starts off, this does start off, I will say this, this movie does start off again with the iconic opening with the Mortal Kombat theme song, so it gets you hype at the start. But then it does recap and shows scenes. It gives you a brief outline, narrated by Raiden, which at this time is not Christopher Lambert. It is now James Remar, and that's something else in this movie we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. But we get a narration from Raiden about the events of the first tournament, and then it leads into the opening. That's the best part of this movie. That's the best part. Because when we get to the opening of this movie, this is where we start going downhill immediately. And the one noticeable thing is the effects in this movie. The effects in this movie, again, they had a bigger budget, but the effects in this movie looked worse than what was in the first movie. And again, I understand. You can tell in this movie how heavy they were filming on green screen. And I understand that movies do that. And I'm okay with that. But I don't want to know, if that makes sense, I don't want to know you're filming on green screen. In this movie, they're filming on green screen. As a matter of fact, there are some times where these actors, you can almost see the green screen itself. So this movie starts off and we're introduced to all the Outworld warriors right away, and we're introduced to Shao Kahn. And to me, Shao Kahn was a big letdown in this movie. We see how he looks at the end of the first one, and Shao Kahn is a menacing figure. He is an imposing figure. Nothing about the way Shao Kahn looks in this movie is imposing at all, and it's almost comedic in a lot of levels. And that's one thing about this movie. This movie is really, in a lot of ways, it's more comedic and campy than martial arts and action. Which again, what makes the first movie really, really good is that there is some elements of comedy, but it's not heavy on it at all. It's kind of sprinkled in here and there. The focus on the first movie is Mortal Kombat. You're focused on the story, the action, the fighting. This one goes a completely different way with it. And to go back to Shao Kahn, he's not a menacing figure at all. Now, he is supposed to be the emperor of Outworld. He is almost like a godlike being, not imposing or intimidating at all. Go back to the first movie. Shang Tsung, very intimidating in this movie. Goro, intimidating in the first movie. Nothing about any of these Outworld warriors are intimidating at all. And Shao Kahn is supposed to be the big bad. And the way they set him up in this was a major letdown. The fights in this movie, again, big downgrade from the first movie. The best fight, in my opinion, in this movie is the Sub-Zero Scorpion fight in this movie. It does have some of its problems here and there, but it actually is a good fight. The one thing, though, in this movie, the one good thing in this movie that makes this movie somewhat, I guess how you want to look at it, somewhat able to be watched, is the soundtrack. I had this soundtrack when it came out. The soundtrack to this is absolutely amazing. So for example, you take the fight with Sonya, Cyrax, and Jax in this movie. The fight's terrible, but the music amps you up for the fight. And so again, it does have a, I will say that for this movie, it does have a good soundtrack. When we talk about the characters in this movie, and we talk about the campiness to some of these characters, the way that they look. We talked about Shao Kahn, but the way that these characters look in this movie, their costumes, they look cheap. They look really bad. Whereas contrast to the first movie, costumes were pretty solid. They were simplistic in a lot of ways. These costumes and these, some of them just seem overdone. Whereas again, in the first movie, they have a simplistic look and feel. Whereas we kind of get like a really campy and cheap look of the characters in this. And then again, when we talk about our plot in this movie, we're kind of all over the place with this. We don't get an understanding in this movie at all. I think in some ways of how Shao Kahn was able to invade Earth Realm, and there's just a lot of unconnected pieces in this and things that don't make sense. And one of the biggest things in this movie that doesn't make any sense at all is the introduction of Shinnok as Shao Kahn's father, but also the introduction as Raiden and Shao Kahn as brothers. That just, it makes no sense in this movie at all. And I really wish if we could have, if we, there's a couple ways to go about this with this. If we could have done some rewriting on this. And that's the one thing too that's disappointing with this movie, is the movie that we could have gotten with some of the original scripts that they had for this movie. You can look it up for yourself and you can see some of the backstory behind this. This movie was literally a rush to get in to make money off the success of the first one. That's what it was. Had they taken their time and actually worked with and put the budget into the scripts that they originally wrote for this movie, we would have probably gotten a better, and we for sure would have gotten a much different movie that would have enabled us to go into the third movie that they had plans to do. But because the second movie wasn't successful, they scrapped plans for the third movie. So let's go back into talking about the Shao Kahn plot with Shinnok as his dad and Raiden and Shao Kahn being brothers. It wasn't needed at all. And if you really wanted to introduce Shao Kahn in this movie, you could have, because when you have Shinnok in there and now you understand that he is Shao Kahn's dad, it takes away from who Shao Kahn is. So you could have set this up, and I think they would have done a lot better service with this if they would have set it up to where Shao Kahn and Shinnok are working together. They're partners of some degree, and Shinnok is the one that is he makes whatever deal he makes with Shao Kahn, so Shao Kahn can invade Earthrealm, but Shinnok is helping him invade Earthrealm. That's how he breaks the rules of the tournament, because he partners with Shinnok to do it. And you could have had Shinnok kind of as a back character. He didn't really need to be in this movie. If you rewrote it, you could have maybe just had him mentioned and maybe kept him until the end of the movie after Shao Kahn's defeated, and that would have really set up the third movie. Or let's just say this. Let's just say this. Let's say we want to go. We want to keep the father and brother plot line. It might have served if there was a stronger story to it. It might have served even better if we would have gotten maybe some glimpses or some kind of mentionings of that in the first movie. Then you could have maybe done something with it. If the story would have been rewritten to a stronger way with that, I could maybe justify that in some way. But that the whole father brother storyline plot completely could have been done away with in this movie. We do get to the end of this movie, and we talked about the effects, and one of the worst effects in this movie is the animality fight sequence. This should have been taken out completely. This really shows how bad the effects were. And the one benefit, the one positive to it is they didn't have it in that long, but it was bad. And it again, as much as you're already taken out of this movie, it completely wipes you out of this movie. The dialogue, we talked about this movie being campy. The dialogue with this movie is just bad. Again, this comes off so many ways. This is almost like you look at the first one where it's this beautiful theatrical production and it just looks classy. It looks good. It's got the right tone. Whereas when you look at this movie, this looks like a made for TV movie. That's kind of my best way to sum up Mortal Kombat Annihilation, is that it just looks like a made for TV movie. But that is my thoughts on Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I would like to know what you think about Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I'm sure there might be some people out there that really love this movie, and that's cool as well. So I'm really interested to know what you think about Mortal Kombat Annihilation. All right, we are going to get into the final movie in our Mortal Kombat series here. We are going to talk about Mortal Kombat 2021. Now, when I talk about Mortal Kombat 2021, I'm not going to be mentioning, I'm going to talk about this as if I have not seen Mortal Kombat 2. We're going to leave that out when we're talking about this. Mortal Kombat 2021 was released on April 23rd, 2021, had a budget of 55 million, had a box office of 84 million. Now, the box office was low because this also had an HBO Max same day release. So they released the movie on the HBO Max streaming platform, and they also released it in theaters at the same time. I did not go see this one in theaters. I actually watched this on HBO Max. So I have a feeling that if it would have been watched on if it would have not had the HBO Max release and would have been in theaters, we probably would have gotten a better box office on this. But in Mortal Kombat 2021, we follow Earth's chosen warriors as they come together at Raiden's temple to train and get ready for the Mortal Kombat tournament. And they will be facing off against Shang Tsung and his Outworld warriors who are looking to win the tournament to invade Earth Realm. This is, for me, in my opinion, looking on this movie. I just watched it recently. I watched it recently to get ready for Mortal Kombat 2. I don't think this is a great movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. It's kind of just in the middle for me. It's kind of in between. I can watch this and have an okay time with it. I mean, it does have its problems with this movie, but it's not a bad movie. I would say if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, you'll have a good time with this. I understand some of the criticisms of this movie, but I can watch this. We're okay with that. So this movie starts off, and I think the opening to this is really good. It starts off giving us how the rivalry started between Sub-Zero and Scorpion. And I like this, and the one thing that this movie does good, and we finally got, was an R-rated Mortal Kombat. We finally got an R-rated Mortal Kombat, because when they did Mortal Kombat 95 and Mortal Kombat Annihilation, they gave it PG-13 ratings because a lot of the fan base was teenagers. It was kids and stuff in my age. So they were afraid that if they really would have turned up the dial and given those movies R ratings, they would not have had good box office numbers, and they would have alienated a lot of their fan base. So I understand at that time, I understand why they did it. Could you imagine, though, really quick, if we would have gotten an R-rated 95 Mortal Kombat? That would have been awesome. But I understand why they did the PG-13. Obviously, now today, we're in a different time. We're not as desensitized to things as we were back then. So they gave this an R rating, and you get Mortal Kombat as an R rating. You get the gore, you get the fatalities, you get what you came for with this. And the opening of this sets that. So we have the opening, and I really wish, the one thing I will say about this movie is we started off strong with this opening, and I will say, in this movie, I wish that the movie really would have been centered more around, obviously we have the tournament, but I really wish it would have been, a focal point really would have been more about the rivalry with Sub-Zero and Scorpion. I wish they would have had that more in the movie instead of just the beginning and the end. But we get into the movie here, and we're introduced to Jax, Sonya, Kano, and we're introduced to a character that wasn't in the game, but we're introduced to Cole Young. Now, Cole Young in this movie, he is an MMA fighter. It looks like he's towards the end of his career, but his importance in this movie is he is a descendant of Scorpion. Now, I will say with this character, this is one of the things about the movie that I did not like. I did not need this character. But let's say you were going to keep him in this, and the reason why, and I understand the reason why he's in this movie, because he's supposed to kind of be the third party, if you will. He's not an established character in the lore of Mortal Kombat, so he's supposed to kind of be like the audience, and we're following him in a little bit of a sense to go through this story. But he's a character that I did not need in this movie, and he was one of the things I didn't like about it. Um, I think though that let's just say that we wanted to keep him in this movie. I think that we could have done better with him if we would have had when he gets to where he learns his power, if you will, his arcana. If his power would have been more drawn from Scorpion, since he is a descendant of Scorpion, then I think you could have made the character better. But overall, this was a character. This was one of the things I didn't like about the movie, and I didn't need this character in it. I like how the pacing of this movie does go, and I like how they have the pacing of the action mixed in with the exposition. So, for example, when we meet Jax and we meet Sonya, they are already understanding and trying to figure out more about the Mortal Kombat tournament and Raiden and who the fighters are. And I like how they're able to explain it. So Cole, again, kind of almost being the audience, they're able to explain to Cole, more so Sonya, about Mortal Kombat and the tournament. And I like the scene where you get to see like all the stuff that Sonya has. They have on the wall at their hideout, and you get to see all the references to the characters and all that. I thought that was really cool. And then we're introduced to who I think is the best character in this movie. We are introduced to Kano, and I have to say, Kano is what makes this movie. He is great in this. He's hilarious. He gives us that comedy that we need. And that's the one thing about this movie too, is that it does have some small elements of camp, but for the most part, it's kind of pretty straightforward with the action, the martial arts, and it has just those sprinkles of comedy with Kano in it. And I think he's great. He made this movie for me. He was my favorite part of this movie. And what was the cool thing was when we get introduced to Kano and they have the fight scene with Reptile, again, thankful for this R rating, we get Mortal Kombat in this game. He does his famous heart rip fatality, and it looks really cool. It looks really cool when he's fighting Reptile. So then we get introduced to Liu Kang, Kung Lao, and Raiden. And I like the way these characters look. I like the way they're portrayed. Again, I'm always a huge fan of Christopher Lambert's Raiden, but I do like the Raiden and the way he is portrayed in this. I like the setup with Raiden's temple. I like Shang Tsung in this. I'm not a big fan of the outfit they put him in, but again, he comes off in this movie. He doesn't really have any camp to him. He's a menacing figure in this movie. And when we get introduced to him and the other Outworld warriors, and when they're coming into Raiden's temple, it's menacing. I like the way it looks. And then again, the one thing I do want to touch on with this is I like how Sub-Zero is in this movie. He is pretty much set up as the main assassin for Shang Tsung that is going around and trying to kill the chosen warriors before the tournament starts. And I like how they set him up in this. And one of the best looks and best scenes in this is his fight with Jax, kind of going back a little bit, his fight with Jax where he freezes Jax's arms and he breaks them. Again, R rating, Mortal Kombat, we're getting the fatalities, we're getting the blood, we're getting the gore, we're getting all of those moves. Absolutely awesome. And I like the way that Sub-Zero looks in this movie. When he comes in through Raiden's temple to face Liu Kang and Kung Lao, it's absolutely awesome. So we get Shang Tsung and Raiden, and we get the Warriors getting ready to face off with each other. And because Shang Tsung, again, he's trying to kill the Earth Warriors before the tournament starts. So Raiden puts up a protective shield around the temple so that Shang Tsung cannot invade. And then we get some expositions. We got a little bit before, but we do get some expositions about the dragon markings. And that is the one thing. There's two things in this movie that I was not a fan of, and that's the dragon markings and them getting their arcana, their special powers. So in this movie, you are considered a chosen fighter if you have the dragon marking. And if you do not have the dragon marking and you defeat someone that does, it is passed on to you, and then you become a chosen warrior. And you are only able to access your arcana, your special powers, if you have this dragon marking. Again, that is something I did not need in this movie. I would have much rather had it set up where these fighters are already here. They're going. They are already chosen. Like again, we go back to the first movie. They didn't have any markings on them. They were chosen because of who they were, what was inside of them. I think that would have been a better way to set this up, and I really would have liked if they would have had their powers already from the start. I didn't. Again, some of those scenes where they were learning and getting their special powers, like especially with Kano at the dinner table when they were talking, it was fun. But I didn't need all that, and that was something that did kind of take me out of the movie. Um, we get to introducing to Goro. Now I want to talk about Goro because in this movie, um, fully understandable, Goro is a complete CG character, and I want to make a comparison. Again, the 95 Mortal Kombat movie, we have Goro in it. It is a man in the suit. There was a couple of CG effects, but again, it's a man in the suit. And he looked way better than what we got in this movie. I was not a fan of the way Goro looked. And I was also not a fan of the treatment he got in this movie. I felt that the way that he was killed in this, if it would have been me and I would have had a chance to write this, I think that Goro would have been served as a teasing character to lead into the next movie. If he is the champion of Mortal Kombat, which I believe in this movie they do set him up still as the champion, then I don't like I just don't like how they handled him. He should have been a character with his power and his look. And if he is a champion, then they should have had him set up to not fight right away. You keep him put up, kind of like same way as Shang Tsung. You know he's powerful. You know what he's able to do, but you don't need to see it just yet. Let that build. Let that anticipation build. And I don't like the fight scene they gave him with Cole. Again, I don't like the character of Cole in this, and I just was disappointed that it was Cole that killed Goro. I also didn't like the fact that they had a fight scene in a barn. Again, I really would have liked, excuse me, I really would have liked if we could have had a better build up and a bigger anticipation for Goro, and or if they were going to have that fight, let's have it with a better background. That's just one of my things for Goro in this. So after Goro's defeated, we get introduced to Cabal, and we get introduced to a couple of the other Outworld warriors. And I want to say this: one of the again, as much as I don't like the Cole Young character, the one character from Outworld that I did not like was Nitara. She was it's the female vampire. For as good as the effects looked in this movie, her effect looked absolutely terrible. I thought it just looked cheap. It looked like a late 90s special effect. And Natara is not really a main established character. She's in the Mortal Kombat games, but to me, personally, not a character that I felt needed to be in this at all. I could have given you a list of other characters that would have been better suited to put in this. Having said that, though, I like Cabal. Cabal in this movie was fun, and I was disappointed that he was killed off in this movie. But the way he looked, his attitude, it was great. I had a fun time seeing Cabal in this, and I liked the interaction with him and Kano because that's how Shang Tsung is able to we get to the fight scene that we get towards the end is because they make a deal. Cabal makes a deal with Kano. And it's because of Kano that Shang Tsung is now able to break through Raiden's field because the field comes down, and then he is able to invade the temple to lure the Earth Warriors into a fight. And it is a good fight scene, I will say this. And for as much as I do not like the character of Natara, we do get that amazing fatality with Kung Lao. That is absolutely fun. Again, they deliver on the violence, the Mortal Kombat violence that we all know and love. They deliver on that in this movie. And it was also cool. I did not think this was going to happen. I was surprised that this actually happened in the movie. That Kung Lao gets killed. And the way that they do it, again, it's the classic look of the Shang Tsung Soul Steel. Again, what I like how they set up Shang Tsung was kind of what I was talking about with Goro is Shang Tsung's powerful. He doesn't fight, but here's Kung Lao, who is an amazing fighter, who's really strong. And all Shang Tsung does is pull him towards him, and he steals his soul just like that. Shows you how powerful Shang Tsung is. I like that scene. And then we get to the scene where Cole makes his way to the fighting arena that he was at the beginning, and it's all completely frozen, and we know what's about to happen. He sees, actually, Cole sees his uh, uh, wife and his daughter frozen, the same way that it mirrors at the beginning of the movie when Scorpion sees his wife and son frozen. So we know what's about to happen. And the set on this actually looked. I know there have been some criticisms about this fight taking place in the MMA arena thing, but I like it. I think the way it looked, I think the set on this looked amazing. And so then Sub-Zero comes in, he has a fight with Cole, and just as he's about ready to kill Cole, Cole channels his ancestor Scorpion, and it is really hype with the way Scorpion comes in and they hit that. He throws the spear through Sub-Zero and he pulls him near him with his iconic saying, and the music, the Mortal Kombat theme, kind of, they have their own version of the Mortal Kombat theme in this, but it's still identifiable, and it is a hype moment. And I like the way this did get some criticisms, but I got to be honest, I like the way the characters look in this. I like the way minus Natara, but I like the way Scorpion and Sub-Zero look in this. I don't need them to look like matching ninjas in different colors. They're each from separate clans, so they're each going to have their unique style, and I like the way Scorpion looks in this. Again, he looks badass, and so does Sub-Zero as well, in my opinion. Again, as much as I have to say this, as much as I value and hold the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie to a high regard, I actually like the look of Sub-Zero in this. I'm going to say it, more than I like the look of Sub-Zero in the 95 Mortal Kombat. Of course, the look of Sub-Zero in that is the classic look, but this Sub-Zero in this movie with his eyes and everything, to me, it's the best look, and he looks menacing, and I like it. I like it a lot. Their fight scene was absolutely awesome. It, to me, again, my opinion, best fight in the whole movie. And we get to the end of it where Scorpion pulls his classic fatality on Sub-Zero, and then the one exciting piece to it is the way that Sub-Zero vanishes. You know what's about to happen. You know where he's going to go, and it's really awesome. And then we get to the end of the movie where now the characters do have to get ready, and they are coming together to get ready for Mortal Kombat. So that's my thought. Those are my thoughts on Mortal Kombat 2021. Again, really like to know what you think. Leave your comments below. Tell me what you think about it. So that is going to do it for my discussion on the Mortal Kombat movies. Once again, if you like the content, you're listening to me on YouTube, hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you're listening to me on Spotify, hit that bell, give me a follow, and make sure you check out the next episode, which is going to be my spoiler-free review on Mortal Kombat 2. You're not going to want to miss that one. Once again, guys, thank you so much. You can follow me on your social media platforms. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Both are Cine James Movie Talk. Once again, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate all the love and support. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, I'll see you at the box office.